have a passionate message, the solution to a problem, a new book or product launch? This channel interviews the movers and shakers in their niche. Watch the shows on this channel and be inspired, or connect with the opportunities that offer a solution to your problem. PSI TV gives content creators a TV experience, increase their visibility to a new audience, and allow them to demonstrate their authority on their subject matter to you. Beyond ads, biz brands can also have a channel presence with their content. We are the Netflix of biz brands. My guest today is Kathi Sohn. Kathi retired from her 36-year career with the federal government to continue her husband's work, helping adults break their vows that they made as children that create disruptive strongholds over their adult lives. So let's settle in and learn all about this adventure called the body memory process. Kathi, thank you for being my guest today.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Now, Kathi, you're continuing your husband's legacy. Now, you sat under his teaching for 25 years. So I'm going to think that you might have been an apprentice, but now you're the master. So you are the master in his absence. Now, most people would think that the job with the feds is a golden ticket, but you left it. This must have been something. So tell us about your husband's work and why you thought it more urgent to pursue his legacy than continue your own career.
Okay, Judy. So first, I'll start with why I started doing his work, and then I can explain in depth of what the work is. I had been with the government at the point of my husband's passing in late 2019 for 36 years, and I was actually on what I had considered to be my last assignment. So I was in Hawaii, and I was going to stay there maybe about 3 or 4 years. But in the first year while I was over there, David became ill and passed rather quickly. I have 2 young children, so David and I met a little bit later in life, and then we had children a little later in life. So I am probably an older mom of 2 school-age children. And so I realized that without their dad any longer, it would be really important to move back to the mainland, put down roots. And once I got everything settled on the other side of the worst part of the pandemic, then I looked up and I had been doing this work with him for so many years. It's really in my heart. I've seen how much it's helped people, and I decided this is a great thing to do now that I'm retired.
All right, so it begs the question, what exactly is body memory?
So, Trudy, I'll give you a few examples that I think people can relate to. One that I think is the most common one is you learned to ride a bike when you were a kid, and maybe as an adult you haven't had a chance to ride lately, and then you get a chance, and you kind of wonder if you still can, and you still can pedal away because your body remembers how to do that. Like another example I think that people can relate to is you've rented a car that has gear shift in a different place than the car that you usually drive. And so, you're kind of pawing at the air where your body thinks the gear shift should be. And so that's another example of body memory. Others include if you have ever learned anything that has individual steps, like a dance, a sport, or learned, say, to play the piano. With piano, you might remember, your mind is remembering the musical notes, but really it's your fingers that are learning the music, and what you end up doing is performing the whole. So you don't need to think about all those different parts. And I think that this was put into place to really serve us as people, because if we had to think of each little different thing that we do and not live in this way, life might be a little bit more difficult, and we might not be as advanced. So those are common examples of body memory. Now, what is probably not commonly known is the result, and very much related to the work of Dr. Candace Pert. So
Hold on one minute. Before you go into Candace, just so what about the person who has lost a limb and they have this phantom sensation? Would that fall under body memory?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right, continue.
Yes, yes, absolutely right. So in the 1980s, Dr. Candace Pert was at the National Institute for Mental Health, and she conducted research that was really groundbreaking, in that she realized that information from strong emotions is carried by neuropeptides to receptors which receive and store this information throughout the body. And she says that deeply traumatic events are deeply rooted in the body. Now, this was really staggering, a discovery, but as a whole, as humanity, I don't think we yet grasp the implications of this for our health and for our wellness. When you think about it, when a technological advance is made, companies are scrambling to productize it, right? And if there is a medical advance, they call it bench to bedside research. So the pharmaceutical companies are going to want to create, like a new drug to be able to help a patient who is ill. Those are considered problems. Technology solves a problem. Medical research solves a problem. But I don't think that, again, as humanity as a whole, we're quite there yet, that wellness is a problem. How do we live our lives well? How do we prolong, our longevity? And I think it's starting to dawn on us. I think as we look around, we're seeing more and more evidence, more and more resources available, but we're not quite there. The body memory process helps to fill that gap.
So
when they, sort of like parking your horse, I guess the elephant would stay there as a baby. And then when the elephant grows up, they don't need the chain to the post anymore, because it has that premature cognitive commitment that, okay, I'm chained here. I don't move anywhere when I'm near this post. Children make these leaps to decisions before they're logical and before they're verbal. Because they are, they're really in a sort of a survival mode, and we don't realize this, but they are totally dependent upon those big people in their lives. And if there is a raging parent, if there's anything in their environment that makes them feel unsafe, they're especially prone to making a decision that makes life more predictable and makes them feel safer. They've done research, and there are people who, because babies are also conscious, there's a whole set of research there about the consciousness in the womb. Newsweek and Time even has articles talking about this, and that they've done research where people will be able to articulate things that they couldn't possibly have known that happened around the gestation period and during birth. And they're able to articulate it in words that truly express what happened, even though at the time they didn't have language. And so, this is a fascinating area. Anyone can look online and look this up. And I think there's a lot more work to be done to really understand all of it. A lot of that's still a mystery. David took all of this information and folded it into the work. Now, the body memory process is about discovering these vows, discovering what is it that we decided, and then there's a process to be able to let that go. He calls it about like emptying the cup. So you can't, if a cup is full, you can't put more in it. So the work is about emptying the physical, the mental, and the spiritual cup, so that the adult doesn't have to, sort of live with this in place. I'll give you a quick example. So say I have a dad who's, I love very much, I like being with him, he's very busy, and I don't get a lot of attention from him. And one day I'm sitting on his knee, I'm getting his attention, and he says, you know, you're my good little girl. Got it, you know, maybe, and there's a connection that's made with, I'm getting your attention, I'm your good little girl. And so there's a vow that gets put into place. I'll always be your good little girl, because that's what I've learned is what gets me attention. And that may be fine when I'm a child, but you know, when I'm a grown woman and I'm around a powerful man, you know, this vow gets activated, and I'm not even aware that, you know, I'm around my boss maybe, and I start to, you know, giggle and act like a little girl, and everybody else can see it, but I probably don't even notice it until I do that, you know, that work on myself. And that's what the body memory process is about, is, you know, learning about yourself. A big piece of really, you know, getting healthy. If anyone who is on a journey to wellness, again, there's a lot of avenues out there now. You can look online and you can find a lot of practices, a lot of concepts of wellness that involve, you know, eating well and getting toxins out of your environment. I think that this inner exploration is largely untapped, because, you know, people don't necessarily have the tools available, and the body memory process can provide those tools.
So, Kathy, what I'm hearing is kind of a space where I'm in the sense that, for example, TV is new in the way we're doing it, edutainment. But one of the challenges I've found is to get the awareness built. So with your body memory process, I'm hearing that it's a solution, but I'm not very clear about how anybody would even know that they need this solution, or who it would appeal to the most. So it's almost like, you know, the person who is diagnosed with a mental disorder knows they need medication and or a therapist. But an average person may or may not know that they are having issues. So I'm hearing that there is a great solution to a potential problem, but how does someone recognize that, hey, I have this issue, I need Kathy's help?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. There are, David used to talk about it in terms of the needy and the greedy, he used to call it. There's the needy, there are people who actually, they're in some sort of crisis. Now, the body memory process can help people who are facing physical challenges, as well as relationship and finance issues. And people, especially if it's a physical challenge, might seek. I had a call recently from someone, and I said, how did you find me? And he said, well, I was in an accident, I was T-boned, I've had back pain, and I saw, you know, your website, and I'm just looking for what else is out there to help me. So you're right. It takes someone who is either, that would fall into sort of the needy category of, I'm in pain, something's not working right, I'm looking for a solution, because that's a motivating thing. Pain is very motivating. The greedy, he says, is actually where he really wants people to be greedy for a better life, right? For wellness. That's the masses I would love to reach, to say, hey, there's so much more. Sure, your life might be working very well. You might be really happy, but remember, you know, a fish is in the water and it doesn't know anything else but water. You don't necessarily know, you know, what else there could be, how much better your life could be, you know, how much healthier you could be, until you really take a look at this, really inward, to say, am I doing absolutely everything that I can to support myself? And so I think it's going to take, maybe networking with others who are starting to make these types of breakthroughs. People need to become more verbal about it. We need to use all forms of media to just educate people that, you know, yes, wellness is important, and this is an important part of wellness.
Yes, for sure. The mental health space is a very wide, broad space, and it's not just anymore just for the people who are diagnosed sick. It's for people who want to be in the prime of their experience. So I agree with you on that. Now, Kathy, there are two books that are mentioned on your website. I'm not sure, I've not had the opportunity to read them. So if somebody grabbed one or both, are they set up in a kind of DIY help, self-help, or is it, how is it set up? What, if not, what do they look forward to if they grab the copies going to your website?
Okay, so Escaping the Labyrinth is a paperback that was published in 2004. It is the body memory process from soup to nuts, including in the back several appendices that include case studies and a body map. So there are tables and tables of vows. There are about 1,000 vows that David discovered over those 30 years or so. And they're all in the back, and they are coded according to like the energy, the chakra system in the body. So if, if I'm feeling a tightness in my back over here on the left side, I can actually go to find that in those tables. Now, since then, I've developed a multimedia, I'll talk about that in a minute, but I've developed a multimedia way and a more interactive way than this book to be able to present that information. So I think the book is a valid, people like having a book in their hand and reading it, that's good. Your Childhood Vows and Now is the Kindle edition. It is revised, not really substantively, so pretty much has the same content. I would recommend that one for people who, because everybody likes something that they can get digitally, and that's available on Amazon. Now, I mentioned a multimedia course that's also available on the website in the bookstore. There's a link to a website called heal.me where you can access. You can choose if you want coaching. There's a free, there's 20 minutes of, free talking with me. And then you can choose the multimedia course, Discover Your Childhood Vows, Change Your Life, which is very comprehensive, includes video and an interactive body map with those almost 1,000 vows, where you can have that discovery process, and then you can learn the homework release process for those vows. And I can help you with that. There's an opportunity to Zoom call with me. We talk at the beginning, talk at the middle, make sure you're set up to do the homework and finish.
So it seemed like, and you kind of touched on that a little bit, that the whole body memory conversation, it's like if someone was doing self-sabotage and they're doing the absolute opposite of their personal goals, it seemed like that's an incongruency with what I want now with my childhood decisions. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, what we see is only that tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, we know that there's so much more going on subconsciously, right, with ourselves. It's that piece that we don't see. And we may have all the goodwill in the world. Think of the New Year's resolution. That's a perfect example. How many people fail? They start out, they have that strong intention, and that's good. That's that motivation is good. But without that knowledge, without that information about what's going on, deep inside of me, that's really running the show, then you're just going to be spinning your wheels and get very frustrated. And a lot of times, that's why people seek out. A lot of people have come to the body memory process because they've said, it's just I'm in these behavior patterns, and I don't know, how to escape. And the body memory process helps people to get out of those patterns. I had mentioned the book with the case studies at the end. There are several case studies of how this work has helped people, and it illustrates what their vows were, what was their experience, and then how the body memory process was able to help, what the difference was in their life after they did the work.
Well, we really are running out of time, but I do want to ask, is there anything else you'd like to share?
To present at an upcoming conference of the National Foster Parent Association, and my presentation was chosen. So I'm finishing that right now. And it's really exciting to me. I'm also been accepted for the National Publicity Summit. with Steve Harrison. So in June, I'll be talking to over 75 representatives from national media about this work.
All right, Kathi Sohn, bodymemoryprocess.com, bodymemoryprocess.com. Guys, you may just need a consult, especially if you are in a repeat cycle, same, different guys, same story. Self-sabotage, even though you've decided a million times that it's not going to happen again, and it happens again. So maybe that's the conversation you need to have. Kathi Sohn is my guest today, bodymemoryprocess.com. Thank you, Kathi.
Thank you for having me, Trudy.